All right, welcome to the runningrestaurants.com podcast. We're bringing the tips, tools, and techniques you need to make your restaurant more profitable and successful. I'm your host, Jaime Oikle. Today, got a great episode for you. We're going to get into accounting with Marta Grumberg, co-founder of Grumberg Accounting. I thought about this before we called. I don't know when exactly this is going to air, Marta, but we are in the thick of regular tax season. I don't know how that impacts you. So thank you for joining me at what I'm sure is a busy time. How's business?
Yeah, business is great. Thank you for having me. It's a good timing to talk about finance and everything. Put everything in order and be ready for the tax season and for filing.
Yeah, so let's get into a few topics here because one of the notes you sent me, you hit it on the head that restaurant business margins are just obviously decreasing and shrinking. It is a tough business, so many details. Let's start with your background, and then I want to get into some of those things of why they're shrinking and what we can do about it. But tell me how long you've been doing the accounting stuff. You had a restaurant in the past. Give me some backstory.
Yeah, so we have been in the business more than 10 years. We started in different fields and then decided to shrink and concentrate on the food industry. Probably the passion to the food industry comes from our past when we own, as young people, we owned a small restaurant and all the mistakes that we have done and how we recover from it. And I wish somebody was there for us to help us and say what to do, the do's and the don't do. So that's the background. After selling the restaurant, we went through college, we built some careers, and then decided to open Grumberg Accounting.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned mistakes, do's and don'ts. Anything jump right top of center to mind? Like what was one of the mistakes or lessons you learned early on?
Oh, so many, so many. I don't know where to start. Where the marketing was off, the from the financial point of view, the pricing, the menu was off
Mm,
in the beginning, and it took us time to adjust it. We did not have any cushion, financial cushion.
mhm, mm.
How to take loans, how to make sure that you have enough. The seasoning, the seasons of the restaurant. Some seasons are great, but then you go slow, and if you don't have a cushion, within 2 years you're out of business. So all of that, I wish I had the knowledge. And you know what? It's not. We did the research, we did everything by the book. But if you have somebody, a partner that walk you through, it's much easier to be there for you when you busy with your operation, to be there to raise the red flags and say, oh, hold on, watch this, look at that, pay
Yeah.
attention to this. That's so important, and that would have been different.
So you've been doing the on the other side, on the business side of it for, I think you said 10 plus years, and you help clients where you are, but also around the country,
Yeah.
and focus on hospitality, correct? Or do you span all the different bars, restaurants, catering? What does a typical client look like?
The food industry, I do, exactly. I do restaurants, bars, we do, and also catering,
Mm.
everything that within the food industry, with the full cycle of bookkeeping, consulting, analysis for the industry, um, and everything about the food.
So one thing that's come up on previous webinars and podcasts we've done is a lot of restaurants, and you probably did this when you operated. We kind of fly by the seat of our pants, and we don't do all the homework that we should do, tracking inventory, tracking accounting, invoices, and all that stuff. And a lot of restaurants get behind and don't have active numbers. Do you find that to be true? And how do you encourage folks to really stay on top of it?
Yes, that's true. You can see it before the season, at the end of the year, in the beginning, before the tax season. Everybody calls to say, "Do you do catch up? Would you do a cleanup? Can you help me? I did not do my books for the past year." And the answer is hire somebody, get a partner to a business, do it on a monthly basis. It won't help only with the taxes. It will help you with the day-to-day management. It will help you with analysis and with building your strategy for the future, to see your high seasons, to see your slow seasons. How do you adjust and make a change during the empty hours and many other things? It will help. It helps to margin. It helps to the management. It helps. It just puts you in order. And I know that the food industry and the managers and the owners, they hate it, and they don't like to deal with the papers, to look through bills. They only want to operate the restaurant, be creative, do customer service, do great dishes. So that's the moment and the point when you have to hire a good partner that will be there for you and will help you. and minimize your paperwork and maximize the results and the benefits you get from that.
Yeah. I think you hit what happens in a lot of operations right there. People, we like all those other parts of
Yeah,
you could call it the sexy parts of the business, the customers,
exactly.
the menu, the food, the entertainment, the music, the vibe, but not the numbers,
No.
that. So we like to outsource that. So yeah, to do it at the end of the year can really put you in a bind in a lot of ways, because you've missed a lot of opportunities along the way, for one thing, right? If you're just finding out now in March that you've missed numbers in June, July, August, September, you've missed a lot of opportunities to correct yourself. And, you're just going to kind of, pinch yourself for doing that. So what are things that restaurants should be doing on a monthly basis at a minimum? What do you think?
Well, in my opinion, everything. Manage the books. If you do it on a monthly basis, you are in a better point. So do your accounts payable, of course. You know how important it is, especially for bars and restaurants. If you have alcohol license, it can be crucial for your business. If you miss one in some states, if you miss one bill, your license is suspended.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to stay on top of your accounts payable. Also remember the cash flow around that, because you receive your money immediately, but you have net 30, net 60 payments. So you need to plan accordingly and understand the seasons. What else? It's important to get your books done by the 10th of the month. Then you can look back, analyze your months to see where you have all the changes. You can realize that you had a big change in your costs, for example, and review your vendors' contracts. It would be too late, like you said, if it's 7 months later.
Let me ask you a question. The food costs have gone up tremendously in the last year, and hopefully things level off to be more stable. So it is important that you look at monthly and what's going on, because your costs are going to fluctuate kind of dramatically, and you may say, where'd the money go? Well, we haven't been looking at it closely enough. What advice are you giving folks around food costs? Should we increase our menu prices? Should we change portion sizes? Like, what are some of the things that you've seen operators do to kind of combat what is happening on the price side?
Well, I start with trying to negotiate better prices with your vendors. And
Mm.
sometimes when you're not big enough and you're not McDonald's, you cannot do that with bigger suppliers. So I say go to local suppliers, go to the local farmers, try to negotiate better deals. If you cannot do it anymore and you kind of stuck, look outside. Think outside of the box. Check wholesale.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, you're wasting your time on going there, but sometimes the wholesale will be locked in better prices, and they can sell you as a customer, regular customer, with better price than buy directly from the supplier. And that's a surprising point. Many of my clients say, "What, really? I didn't even think about it." But yes, a wholesale, they have those huge contracts for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
and they can lock the price better than you can as a local restaurant. After that, I say adjust your menu. Yeah. If you're in a point that you tried everything you can with your suppliers and there's nothing you can do and it still bites into your margin, adjust your menu. Try to promote the dishes that have a lower costs.
Mm-hmm.
And the last but not least important solution, in some point, you have to make a decision that you're raising the price. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it bites into your quality and bites into your image, you cannot serve a person 3 small tomatoes and say that's a dish. So in some point you have to raise prices. The most important part that I say, the most important advice is don't be too late with that.
Yeah.
Make it on time.
We did we did a webinar recently where we talked about some of these topics and raising price, and something that comes up for everybody, and it's that obstacle of my customer is resistant to price change, and then I'll flip the hat and I'll be the customer, and I go into a place and I'm used to paying $18.50 and now I see it's $21.50, and I'm kind of like, oh man. Anything you've learned from your clients on changing price? I'll spin it around. I can go a whole bunch of different ways with this. I mean, consumers are getting more used to it. It is what it is, and so forth. But have you seen anybody be successful in terms of communicating that, hey, we're increasing prices, but it's to give you better value. It's a part of the market. Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, yeah. And bottom line, it is what it is. You're right, because
Yeah,
in the bottom line, when you go to the grocery store, they raise their prices too, and there's nothing that you can do that. And if the whole industry does that, it's something that people adjust and get used to it. Um, to make a smooth transition, I don't know, maybe to add some value, which is very hard to do with the high cost today. Um, nothing special. You can't invent the wheel again. It's the hardest thing that restaurants owners and managers do, to raise the price and try to explain it to your customer.
it is. It is. And listen, I echo what you said just the other day. I'm at the grocery store and I'm looking at a couple things and I'm like, that used to be 349 and now it's 649. I'm like, wow.
Exactly.
It's one of those things that's hitting everybody. Let's go to food costs. One question that I'm sure your clients ask you and everyone always asks around this topic is, what should my food cost percentage be? What should my margin be? What are some target numbers that folks can think of to say, hey, I'm doing okay if I'm in this range? What do you think?
Well, it would be a rule of thumb, 30, 30, 30.
Hmm.
But the lower it is, the better is for you, the margin. But that would be the minimum: 30, 30, 30, 30 cost, 30 general expense, and 30% payroll. In my experience, with this set of numbers as minimum, with a small with the small margins, more or less, you would be fine.
Okay. What about food and beverage? How are you breaking out those two? Talk about how those two work together.
Well, it depends if you serve alcohol. If you serve drinks, the margin on drinks would be great.
Hmm.
And it also depends on the vision of your business and what type of restaurant or bar you're running. So if you run this chef restaurant and it's all about the special dishes, obviously that would be your main dish. You have those bars that serve some food as a marketing tool. They don't have a large margin on the food, but they drive clients into their places serving foods and some appetizers to sell drinks, and the main profit will come from drinks.
I want to talk about inventory for a second. No one loves to do it. Same thing. It's
No,
it's
no.
nitty, it's gritty. In our just keep referencing because we just did a recent webinar that talked about it. And sure, if you got it dialed in, maybe you can do it once a month. But we talked about even doing it once a week for a while to really make sure you have it done. And I know folks don't hardly do it at all. But what do you recommend? Why is it important? How do you talk about inventory?
Well, to do inventory is very important, and we hear about it a lot. You will see all the softwares, everybody talk
Mhm.
about inventory. I want to talk about something else for a second. I want to talk about the cost to do inventory,
Mhm.
because it's not obvious. We all concentrate of the costs of the inventory that we lose, to see where we stand, to make it accurate. You have all those softwares in the market that say, "Hey, we're gonna help you with inventory. You're gonna save so much money on the products." But they forget to mention, and it's something that I'm pointing to my clients also: look at the cost of making inventory, how much it will cost you to do a weekly inventory. You need to bring a person, and it's supposed to be a particular person that spends X time on calculating and doing your inventory. Would the cost of this person will be more or less on what you're losing on not doing the inventory weekly? So I do understand to do the inventory weekly when you're in a transition or making some change or doing
Mhm.
some analysis, crunching some reports. I don't think it's necessary on a regular basis in most cases, of course. And I also want to talk about the software around it that is so hot in the market now, because I hear my clients setting all those meetings that I sit in the meetings, for owners approaching them and trying to sell them inventory software. Software generally is a great accounting tool. It's a great managerial tool, with the AI, we have so many options. It's very important to pick and choose what's good for your business, what will bring you a return on investment, and what is doable. Because in most cases, particularly with the inventory, I sit in those meetings and I ask one simple question: what do you need to do to get all those great reports, analysis, and conclusions? You need to input the information correctly, and you find yourself and the owners and the managers debating if it's possible for their business, if it's possible for the chef through rush hour to input all this data right away, how long it will take the person to do that later. And in a lot of cases you find, and I'm kidding, but it's a lot of hours, a full-time person that needs to that has to input all this information, because if you put garbage in, you will get garbage out. And I've seen already situations when owners and managers got those reports and the data was just not accurate, which might lead you to wrong decision and build a wrong strategy around that. So technology is great, software is great. Just pick and choose what's good for you, price wise, what is going to really benefit your business.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really good how you went through that, because even as you were talking, I'm like, I was going to use the garbage in, garbage out analysis, but you beat me to it. And yeah, if you don't put the data in, what you get out is going to be useless, and so forth. So, but keeping up to date with getting that data in there as you run a business restaurant can be a challenge. And yes, there's just one tech company after another trying to knock on your door, and my solution is the answer to everything. And it's great. Technology's come so far, and I love it. And it's a tool, but only if you use it to its full extent.
Yeah, you know how the chefs and the managers, how they like to deal with that during rush hour when they have everything going hot and interesting and sexy, like you said. The last thing that they want to do is deal with the app and enter how many tomatoes they threw away right now.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Let's just maybe cover one or two more topics. Like menu plate cost. You hinted at it. If you're struggling with profits, let's suggest selling more of our high profit items. To know what your high profit items are, you have to do a lot of homework ahead of time to know your plate costs, your inventory costs, and so forth, your recipe cards, etc. And so a menu can have things that sell like crazy and yet don't make any money, right?
Yeah.
That's the worst scenario you can have, is I'm selling a lot of it, but I'm not making any money. Meanwhile, you may have an appetizer that kicks off $8 of profit because it doesn't cost you anything. How do you talk about those dilemmas with your clients?
Well, when I analyze the books in the end of the month, I can see that the costs are too high. So I start to suggest all those things that I see work for others and don't work for this client particular. And I also have my personal experience, unfortunately, from the past, when I also did the wrong calculations on my menu. So I always say, don't be afraid to change and think outside of the box. If you don't have enough margin and enough profit inside your restaurant, think about taking it out. Do deliveries. Do a customized menu for the deliveries. You don't have to deliver the same dishes that you serve inside your restaurant. You can adjust and build something special. Keep thinking outside of the box. Think to expand to some catering services. And also, one more thing that is important that I found out, that during the day you have different hours, rush hours in your restaurant. Make sure you fill your slow hours with low cost, I mean payroll wise, and that you have customized menu. If you see that in the morning there's nobody in your restaurant, you have 4 local people that stop by to grab a breakfast, adjust your menu, adjust your expenses. Don't serve those high cost dishes that push you to keep all this inventory with a high cost that expires and put you in a low margin.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Excuse me. About the delivery aspect in particular, the other part was very good as well, and I think I'm going to come back to it. But with delivery, yeah, you don't have to offer every single thing that's on your menu, and a lot of things don't transfer well anyway. You can especially work with a lot of the apps and third parties in your own website to, in essence, create a whole different, not a whole different restaurant, but a different menu. You can
Yes.
have different price points as well on the platforms. I know this is kind of standard stuff that I'm talking about, but if you're not doing it, just remember that there are alternatives. You don't have to completely replicate what you're doing with your delivery and your takeout, and of course, expanding to catering can be very successful as well. Sometimes your menu is just too big. You got too much stuff. It's not profitable. Get rid of it. Cut it out. Know what's working. We joke about, everyone, you go in a cheesecake factory and there's just page after page and you go, how the heck do they do this? I have no idea. And then you go to an upscale restaurant and they may have, 10 dishes, and they're maximizing what they work with for those reasons. So I was looking at one more note, and you actually hinted on something in your last talk about cutting labor, but what are some other spots you've seen owners uncover some hidden costs where they can find savings?
Labor, and it's funny because it's a big chunk of a restaurant expense, the labor, but there is a hidden cost there. The turnover with the employees in the restaurant business is high, and there's a struggle to hire people sometimes because the high season is a high season for everybody, and the low season is the low season for everybody, and owners and managers, they don't rush to downsize the team, and it bites them. It eats the cushion that I was talking before about, and it eats all the reserves, the cash reserves, because they remember the struggle. How hard is that to build a team? They get attached to the team. They have the strong belief that things will be better next weekend, and they are slow to downsize, and that's a big problem.
It's true. That is a very difficult part of the business. All right, let's go. As we start to wrap, anything we didn't hit on that you'd like to kind of make sure we touch on, parting thoughts, as well as where to find you guys on the web and how to get in touch with you, if you can kind of put a bow on it.
Well, as I say, always choose wisely your lawyer, doctor, and accountant. Those people will keep you safe and successful. So make sure you choose the good partner. Make sure you get a good customer service. Make sure you get a partner that understands you and your industry. It's very important. That's a key to success. And we'll be happy to help. Contact us on the website. It's grumbergaccounting.com. We're all over the social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, everywhere.
Good. Yeah, it's a topic that we got to dig into. And so I appreciate you, Marta, for sharing some of these tips. Folks, Marta Grumberg of Grumberg Accounting, you can find them at grumbergaccounting.com. We'll have that in the notes. Or if you're listening, type that in, grumbergaccounting.com. For more great restaurant marketing, service, people, operation tips, stay tuned to us here at runningrestaurants.com. In the meantime, do us a favor, like the episode, share it, review it. All that stuff helps us. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Marta.
Thank you.